His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privrajacharya Astu Saraswati Shri Srimad. His Divine Grace Shri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Madhava ki jai. Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai. Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, Shri Shri Guru Garanga Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So the devotee was supposed to give class today. The class is about Arjuna kidnapping Subhadra. So I think the devotee is supposed to give class today. He looked out at all the brahmacharis here, and he didn't come to Mangalartik so that he would be disqualified from giving class, so that I was asked to give class. So I will do the best possible, given the topic and the audience. I told Maharaj, I wish I'd known he was here. I would have asked him to give class. But we'll try to draw some conclusions that are practical for all of us. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, chapter 86. So there'll be some translation for the devotees that maybe don't speak English?
Yes.
Where do they go?
हरे कृष्ण जिनको हिंदी में क्लास में नहीं हो थोड़ा पीछे बैठ सकते हैं ट्रांसलेशन के लिए हरे कृष्ण
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, chapter 86, Arjuna kidnaps Subhadra. Text number 4. Yeah, 4 is here. Okay, and 5, and we might read all the way through 13. It's just very, very short purports, and then 13 goes on to another story. So, Tatra Vai Varshikan Masan Avatsit Varta Sadhakaha Porai Sabhajito Bhikshnam Rama Ajanata Chasaha Tatra Vai Varshikan Masan Avatsit Svarta Sadhakaha Porai Sadhajito Bhikshnam Ramena Janata Chasaha Tatra Vai Varshikan Masan Avasit Svarta Sadhakaha Porai Sabhajito Bhikshnam Ramena Janata Chasaha Tatra Vai Varshikan Masan Avasit Svargat Sadhikaha Porai Sabhajito Bhikshnam Ramena Janata Chasaha
तत्र वै वर्षितान् मासान् अवाचित् स्वार्थसाधकः सभाजितो भीष्णम् नामेन जानता च सः
Tatra, there. Vai, indeed. Varshikan, of the rainy season. Masan, for the months. Avatsit, he resided. Sva, his own. Artha, purpose. Sadhakaha, trying to achieve. Purai, by the people of the city. Sabhajitaha, honor. Abhikshnam, constantly. Ramena, by Lord Balaram. Ajanata, who was unaware. Cha, and. Sa, he. Translation. He, Arjuna, stayed there during the monsoon months to fulfill his purpose. Lord Balaram and the other residents of the city, not recognizing him, offered him all honor and hospitality. So next verse I read as a series. Ekata grahamanitya atiyena namantratam shradhayo pahritam bhaksham balina bubuje kila. One day Lord Balaram brought him to his home as his invited dinner guest, and Arjuna ate the food the Lord respectfully offered him. Purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. From the explanation of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, it is understood that Arjuna in his sannyasi role had just finished the 4-month vows of the rainy season and could now again accept general invitations from householders. Thus, no one would have suspected any unusual motive in his visiting Lord Balaram at this time. 6. So pasyatatra mahatim kanyam vira manoharam prityut pulakshanastasam bhavachutham manodadhe. There he saw the wonderful maiden Subhadra, who was enchanting to heroes. His eyes opened wide with delight, and his mind became agitated and absorbed in thoughts of her. 7. Sapitam chakamai viksha nadinam hridayam gamam asanti vridita pangi tanyasta hridayekshana. Arjuna was very attractive to women, and as soon as Subhadra saw him, she wanted to have him as her husband. Smiling bashfully with sidelong glances, she fixed her heart and eyes upon him. Just for the peaceful mind of all the brahmacharis, I've observed all you carefully. None of you have any of these features of Arjuna, so you don't need to worry. Okay, I've been studying you all for the last 2 days, so you can be peaceful. Purport. As soon as she saw him, Subhadra knew that Arjuna was no sannyasi, but rather her destined consort. In Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada elaborates, quote, Arjuna, the grandfather of Maharaj Parikshit, was himself extraordinarily beautiful, and his bodily structure was very attractive to Subhadra. Subhadra also decided within her mind that she would accept only Arjuna as her husband. As a simple girl, she was smiling with great pleasure, looking at Arjuna. Text 8. Tamparam somanujanyan antaram prepsur arjunaha lalebhesham brahmachitaha kamenati baliyasa. Meditating only on her and waiting for the opportunity to take her away, Arjuna had no peace. His heart trembled with passionate desire. Purport. Even while being honored by Lord Balaram, Arjuna was too distracted to appreciate the Lord's gracious hospitality. Arjuna's distraction and Lord Balaram's failure to recognize Arjuna in his disguise were both arrangements of the Supreme Lord to enjoy his transcendental pastimes. Text 9. Mahajyam deva yatrayam rata sham durga nirgatam jaharanumata pitro krishnasya cha maharataha. Once on the occasion of a great temple festival in honor of the Supreme Lord, Subhadra rode out of the fortress-like palace on a chariot. And at that time, the mighty chariot warrior Arjuna took the opportunity to kidnap her. Subhadra's parents and Krishna had sanctioned this. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti identifies this festival as the annual Rath Yatra, For Lord Vishnu, on the occasion of his rising from mystic sleep at the end of Chaturmasya. Subhadra's parents are Vasudev and Devaki. Text 10. Ratasto dandar adaya suram charunato batan divrabhya kroshatan shranam svabhagan mrigarad iva. Standing on his chariot, Arjuna took up his bow and drove off the valiant fighters and palace guards who tried to block his way. As her relatives shouted in anger, he took Subhadra away, just as a lion takes his prey from the midst of lesser animals. 11. Tachchutva chuvito ramaha parvaniva maharnavaha grihita para krishnena subridrish chanusan vitaha. When he heard of Subhadra's kidnapping, Lord Balaram became as disturbed as the ocean during the full moon. But Lord Krishna respectfully took hold of his feet and together with other family members pacified him by explaining the matter. Last one. 12. Prahino prarabarhani vardavardvar mudabalaha mahadanno paskarebya ratasva narayoshitaha. Lord Balaram then happily sent the bride and groom very valuable wedding gifts consisting of elephants, chariots, horses, and male and female servants. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste. Namaste Saraswati Deva Gaudavani Vicharini Nirvisesha Shivani Pashtitani Zitanani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare. So it's nice to be here with everybody. I was here last for the opening of this temple, which is very auspicious. I'd forgotten how big it is. This huge temple, such a big temple. Very beautiful, beautiful place. It's nice to be here again and to see the deities so lovely and so many devotees nicely engaged in their service. So this is an interesting but brief section of the Bhagavatam. And reading in this whole canto various pastimes of the Lord and his devotees and hearing about the different emotions of the devotees and their relationships with the Lord. In the last chapter was reading about how Devaki desired to see her sons who'd been killed by Kamsa, and the Lord arranged, I think he and Balaram went to see Bali Maharaj, and he was happy to present the 6 sons who were living in that kingdom. They went back to Devaki. She was very pleased to see them. They were blessed by her association, and then they became liberated from there. So here in this section, Parikshit Maharaj has asked Sukadeva Goswami about his own grandparents. So he's really asking about his own family lineage here. So when he's hearing about Arjuna, this is his grandfather kidnapping his grandmother. So I was thinking, Kshatriya stories are a little different than most stories these days, right? And you go in any pious Hindu family, maybe even impious Hindu family home, and on the altar they have a picture always of the grandmother and the grandfather. And they don't look like Arjuna and Subhadra, and they don't necessarily look as happy as they are described here. The style seems to be to look very sober. but here, so Parikshit Maharaj, he's inquiring about his own grandfather and his grandmother and how they became a couple. And of course, which leads to the birth of his father Abhimanyu, married to Uttara, and Sukadeva is answering the whole question with this very short few verses about how Arjuna has kidnapped Subhadra, who actually wanted to have him as her husband. And of course, it's important. I think the most significant part of hearing these stories is explained in the purport of the last chapter. Just read that, it's a few lines. According to Sridhar Swami, hearing the wonderful events of Lord Krishna's life destroys sins in a manner that is perfect, alam, because it is easy. Anyone can easily participate in this hearing, and those who become devoted to Krishna always enjoy wearing on their ears the ornaments of topics concerning him. Not only those who were present at the time of their occurrence, but also Sukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami, all who have heard since then, and everyone in the universe who will hear in the future. All are blessed by the continuous recital of Lord Krishna's transcendental glories. So the nature of the soul, and we see this very clearly illustrated in the modern times. People are very attracted to stories. It's a big deal. They want stories, right? Like they have, I live in the US, they have Hollywood. Here, I think even bigger, you have Bollywood. I don't know how many hundreds of movies come out every year, but many movies come out. And people are attracted to those. They work and they make money and to go and hear stories about different heroes and warfare and evil kings and beautiful princesses and so much conflict. And especially in this age, people are very attracted to these things. And we can see that generally, people, they want to hear these. They buy so many books, they watch television, they go to movies, they listen to things on the radio, so many things. But actually, it only distracts them temporarily from the difficulties that they're experiencing in life. They're looking for some kind of entertainment. But it always leaves people frustrated. You know, you listen to some interesting story, once it's very interesting, second time it's not so interesting, third time it's not at all interesting, fourth time it becomes a little disgusting, you're tired of it, you want something new. This is the nature of material things, including material stories. And most of the stories that people are attracted to, they're very much, not always, but usually very much in the mode of passion, so that it seems like, as Krishna says in the Gita, they're like nectar in the beginning, but they become poison at the end. I don't know what stories are attracting people in India right now, but in my country there is one famous singer who is now dating a very famous football player. The whole country is enthralled with this relationship. It's like the multi-billionaire singer and the multi-millionaire football player, and people want to know how's it going to end. And I was thinking the other day, well, devotees know how it's going to end. It's going to end in suffering. That's how they always end. It's going to be some short-term pleasure and some long-term misery. It always is the nature of material things. And of course, the story themselves, the history themselves, it's like people, again, they like to hear, great heroes and warriors. Of course, so many heroes and warriors are there in Indian history. Prabhupada, when he would travel, sometimes he would talk about, like when he went to France, he asked the devotees, so France is there, where's Napoleon, the great conqueror? And he talked about Alexander the Great, who conquered so much of the known world to the Europeans at that time. And at the end, everything was lost. And in the meantime, the short history is the empire came and the empire went. But the more detailed history is millions of people died in bloody warfare, and many more millions of people were affected. Like anytime there's war and one soldier dies, so there's the mother of the soldier, there's the father of the soldier, there's the wife of the soldier, there's the children of the soldier, there's the neighbors, so the suffering just increases so many fold. And therefore, in this world, people, the brief history, Julius Caesar came and went, and Napoleon came and went, and Alexander came and went, but so much suffering was in the wake of those people, so much misery of the world. And therefore, as devotees, when we hear these stories, an uninformed person gets very interested in the happiness, but they don't want to hear the sad ending. Devotees, we understand there's going to be a sad ending, and therefore we try and encourage people. You take shelter of Krishna. You want to hear some nice stories? Read the Bhagavatam. You want to hear about wars? Read the Mahabharata. Read the Bhagavad Gita. Read the Ramayana. You want to read about evil kings? Read the Ramayana. There's some really good evil kings there. Nothing like the modern people can kind of make up in their own mind. So as devotees, when we see people absorbed in these modern day stories, it brings us actually pain in our heart, because we just see how they're so distracted you have a desire for some excitement in your life, but you're seeking your happiness, your excitement in ways that only lead to suffering. If you seek your excitement with Krishna, it leads to happiness. Even we can see here, so you want to read some romance, great. So read about Arjuna and Subhadra and you become purified by that. Read about Abhimanyu and Uttara, you become purified by that. So these stories are different. That's the version that's given by our acharyas, and it's given in the Shastra itself. Prabhupada explains that when he first came and was preaching in the West, he happened to come during the time in America of the Vietnam War, and young people were very much opposed to war. And a lot of them, they had a hard time hearing the message of the Gita, because Krishna is telling Arjuna, you should fight. So they're very resistant to that. So they're having difficulty understanding what the message behind it. But Srila Prabhupada explains many places, the battle of Kurukshetra, Jai Shishi Bonita, Jai Shishi Rama, Jai Shishi Sita Rama, the battle of Kurukshetra is different because it's connected with Krishna, and therefore it purifies us just by hearing about it. And it helps awaken knowledge and helps awaken love of God. Especially we know in the Mahabharata, the Gita is there in the center. People get pulled in because of the drama. And in the midst of it, Krishna says, by the way, you're not the body. By the way, this world is temporary. By the way, it only leads to suffering. By the way, the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, you're going to suffer. By the way, surrender to me, you'll be happy, by the way. And then he goes back to the story. For those people that to need to have the message reinforced in some other way. So in the same way, we see here in this story, Krishna, he's working behind the scenes. Like it's explained that, well, why did all these kind of intricacies? Well, behind the scenes, it was Krishna's arrangement to reveal his transcendental position, to help the devotees awaken love of God, and in some way or other to bring people around to spiritual knowledge. This is the vision of the Vaishnavas, ultimately of this world. Whether there is the temporary happiness that the souls sometimes experience, or there is a misery that is there, ultimately this whole world is meant to give people an opportunity to realize, I can't be happy here, and I need to connect with something higher, and ultimately Krishna. We have this vision given by our acharyas that this is the purpose of the whole world. So here in this particular pastime, in this marriage of Arjuna and Subhadra, it's significant to us because we know the background. It's not just Subhadra in whatever 8 verses being kidnapped by Arjuna, but it's they become the parents of Abhimanyu, who becomes the great hero and warrior of the Mahabharata, who's the father of Parikshit, who later hears the Bhagavatam from Sukadeva Goswami, benefiting all of us down to today. So when we go out and distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, maybe we're distributing sometimes Bhagavatam, we should think, without this Arjuna kidnapping Subhadra, there wouldn't be the whole story. This is a critical part. It's only a few verses, but this is a whole part of the Lord's very elaborate plan to deliver everyone in the material world. So this is our experience. We see that so many complicated things happen in this world, and sometimes we don't understand it, but we have faith, and later we learn and we see how actually Krishna was behind the whole scene, bringing us back to him. And all of us as devotees, if we were to talk to different people about our own personal stories, often in hindsight, we can see, oh yeah, that difficulty, that was to convince me to give up the material world. Or this short-term experience of some happiness in the material world that ended, that was Krishna's arrangement to bring me to him. So we have this experience ourselves, and therefore gives us even greater conviction of the need to share the Bhagavatam with others so that they can have an opportunity to become attracted to the pastimes of Krishna. Because we know, our philosophy teaches us, and we have great faith, the ultimate goal is not to become zero. Many people are so unhappy in life, they just want to become zero. Devotees, zero is not enough. Sometimes I've heard people describe that actually devotees are the most lusty. Because most people, they lust after the material world, they become frustrated, they say, let me become zero. Devotees say, no, I want real happiness. I want real satisfaction. I want real pleasure. So spiritualized our lust or our desire, but that we have desire to experience what real happiness is. So that is in connection with Krishna. That is in connection with the stories and the history of Krishna. So for us, when we hear these stories, these histories, we can always connect them with understanding that the Lord says he comes again and again and again for three purposes: to reestablish the principles of religion, to annihilate the miscreants, and to deliver the pious. So this is the person that he is. He comes for this purpose. So when we read these stories, we can understand this is more of his nature. And also, an important point for us in this particular context, so this is Arjuna kidnapping Subhadra. We should also remember Prabhupada's instructing us many times that we can follow in the footsteps of the Lord and follow in the footsteps of the great devotee, but not imitate. So it's possible someone could be flipping through, you go on book distribution one day, someone flips through the Bhagavatam, goes to the 10th canto, chapter 86, reads a few verses and decides, so you say it's okay for kidnapping. Someone could misinterpret like that. What kind of terrible people are you? But so also in a practical way, we have to see these histories in context. So this is the story of a very ancient time, at least 5,000 years ago, when these types of Kshatriya marriages were accepted. They were also rare then, but they were accepted. And also in these verses, it explains Subhadra wanted Arjuna as her husband. It was just Balaram's idea. Such leelas, it's interesting. Balaram is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he didn't realize that Arjuna was in costume. So that's interesting. So there's a play going on here. There's a drama that's going on. And of course, we know today that kidnapping is very much against the law and is punished, and people shouldn't be. When there are people that become somewhat religious fanatics, and sometimes they misinterpret these things. So we also have to hear all of these instructions according to time, place, and circumstance. And a practical instruction for all of us related to this, maybe I'll kind of wrap up with this point, is according to time, place, and circumstance, things sometimes work and things don't work. So in that time, kidnapping was okay. And this time, kidnapping was not okay. And there's many, many stories of Krishna's activities and the great acharyas that were worked in a certain time, but not in another time. It explains in the Gita that people need examples of great men. They need leaders who actually teach them by example. So, and we know Prabhupada, he's not only our founder, but he's our founder acharya. So for ISKCON especially, we look to him and we see how he teaches us by his example. So we have to be very, very careful as Vaishnavas, kind of bringing it down to a practical sense. What does this mean for us today? Just like this morning, I think you read every morning, you read the whole Shishastika here, every morning. So we know within that instruction, Lord Chaitanya is explaining about the principle of humility, and that we should all offer our respect to others, and we should be more plain, more tolerant than a tree, more humble than the blade of grass. And this is something that if we manifest these qualities, people will be more inspired to look to us as genuine spiritual authorities. Because in this age of Kali, everyone is posing to be their friend. The political leaders are posing to be friends, and business leaders are posing to be their friend. You just buy this product, you'll be happy. And then people buy the product and they're not happy. They say, oh, you didn't buy the big size. You bought the small size. You have to buy the bigger size. So you buy the big size. And they say, well, no, but you have to buy the new improved one. Forever, eternally, we will be creating new and improved products. And you continue to buy these products. So they're being misled. So as devotees, it's important for us to really develop these qualities of humility. And I was thinking at this temple, how do you maintain humility in this temple? You know, when Prabhupada first came to America, 26 Second Avenue was a small rented place. I think they paid something like $75 a month or something. They didn't have enough money for more than 1 month's rent. In fact, Prabhupada was such a transcendental personality, he convinced the leasing agent, you should give money and become a life member of our organization. So man was very flattered, and I think he pledged $20 a month. I don't know if he gave it forever, but at least initially he gave the $20 a month. So in this temple, Prabhupada was very proud to get this temple. Who's seen 26 2nd Avenue? Anybody seen 26 2nd Avenue? Okay, the size is about where Maharaj is sitting. It's a little wider than that carpet, and a little longer. Maybe it goes from the edge of the blue down to the edge of the orange. That's the temple. That's where ISKCON started. That was our first temple. And of course, before that, Prabhupada didn't have any place. He was just going from place to place to place. So, in that type of environment, it's very easy to be humble, isn't it? You know, where's your place? Well, 26 2nd Avenue. It's like, well, I drove by, I didn't see it. Yeah, you have to drive by very slowly. You have to walk by. And you have to look. It's very, very small. It's very small. But when we have places like this, and we have so many places like this now, isn't it? And all over the world, we have places like this. India, of course, maybe has the most beautiful temples, definitely the most. But it's easy to start thinking, I'm a member of this big temple. I'm a leader even of this big temple. I'm so opulent. You are not as opulent as I am. Right? I must have many pious credits because I'm a member of this organization and you're not. Isn't it? Not only that, like the journalist that spoke to us yesterday said, I always speak to such different audiences, but now I'm speaking in front of so many sadhus. Very difficult for me. I was thinking personally, all these sadhus need to wash their blankets, some of them. But he was thinking, no, just sadhus. He was seeing sadhus in this very humble view. So we have to be careful because we know in our own parampara, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was lamenting when he spoke to our Srila Prabhupada, better I didn't build these big temples. Better we tear them down brick by brick, we sell the bricks and we publish books. Now, of course, we know Prabhupada he didn't say that's what he wanted us to do. He published the books, he printed the books, he wanted us to distribute the books. He gave a huge percentage of his daily life translating so many books. But he gave us this instruction his Guru Maharaj had given him. Better you don't build big temples, you publish books. But he also said publish books. He also said build temples. And he built temples, and he built Juhu, right? This is a kind of a replica of Juhu, right? He built Mayapur. I mean, he carried forward this vision, Bhaktivinoda Thakur and others, of this beautiful grand temple that would be there. He personally pushed for the temple in Vrindavan. If you read the story, even they went to open and it wasn't ready. Prabhupada showed up, I think the governor was coming, the chief minister, somebody, and it was practically a pile of construction. It wasn't even close to being finished. Prabhupada was very, very upset, and he told them, you cancel the whole thing, but you finish this temple and let us open it. So, we know in this age, the temples and yagyas, not the means of purification, is Sankirtan yagya. Someone could ask, well, why do we even need these temples? Well, let's just go out in the street and chant Hare Krishna. But we also have the example when Prabhupada first came back to India, and he brought a lot of his Western disciples, and he sent them on Harinam. And you may remember, it's important instruction, Prabhupada told them to stop chanting on the streets. They were going out, and Prabhupada told them to stop. It's interesting, the founder Acharya of the Hare Krishna movement, bringing Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement around the world, he ordered them, you stop Sankirtan. Right? Why was that? Who remembers? Why did he have to stop? People were throwing coins, thinking they're beggars. So he said it's being misunderstood. So you stop this. It's not the best way. But then later, of course, he started again in so many places all around the world. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, better I stop building the temples, But then Prabhupada again began. I mean, Bhaktisiddhanta's other disciples built temples too, but in our line, Prabhupada continued that. But the warning is there for all of us that we have to be very careful we don't start thinking, I am special, this temple is special, therefore I must be special. Or this temple is opulent, well, I must be opulent. Or this temple is a blessing, I must be blessed. You're not so blessed, right? I'm blessed. And then everything comes to a finish. It can become finished. So we all have to be careful. This is a very, very important mission. We have a mission to carry Krishna consciousness all around the world. There's one nice story with Prabhupada and Tamal Krishna Maharaj. I don't think he was a Maharaj at that time. He was asked to become either president or maybe just temple commander of the temple in Los Angeles, which was our first big temple. It wasn't like this. It was maybe 4 times the carpet. But that was the big temple. So he told Prabhupada, he said, but Prabhupada, I'm very concerned that I'll become puffed up. I'll become proud. If you put me in charge of this place, I'll become proud. So Prabhupada told him, put it in context. I can't quote exactly, but I can paraphrase. Prabhupada told him, within this entire unlimited material world, there's one planet Earth, a speck. And within that planet Earth, there's 7 continents, one of which is North America. Within North America, there's the United States, there's 50 states. Within those states, there's one state called California. Within California, there's hundreds of cities. One of those is Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, there's thousands of streets, one of which is, I think, La Cienega was where they were then. And he said, on this one street, La Cienega, there's so many houses. Within one house, there's one Tamal Krishna. And he's thinking he's very important. So we should remember like that. Sometimes devotees think, I know sometimes new devotees, they say, oh, I wish I was there in the early days of ISKCON. The early days of ISKCON are going to be the next 500 years practically. We have so much work to do. At least the next 100 or 200 years. There's so much work to do. I know I was in Delhi. They say now there's, 17 temples in Delhi, depending how you count. That's glorious, but how many people in Delhi? How many people? 20 million? 30 million? Big, right? So we have like one temple for every 1 million people. You know, we have a lot of work to do even in Delhi. And there's other cities, there's no temples, right? There's other countries where there's no temples in the whole country, isn't it? And we publish so many books, but how many books per people, per person, right? And it's not that every person has a set of Bhagavatams in every home. We're a long ways from that. The people who print the Bibles are some of the Bible Society. There are hundreds of more books distributed every year than we do. So we should maintain our humility and see we have a lot more to do. And by Krishna's grace, this is his house, this is his big, big, big temple. I'm just a tiny, 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 tiny servant who is somehow able to assist him in enjoying of his beautiful palace temple and in trying to bring others here. And we should always remember that our role here is to help others come. We are kind of like the guest masters. You know, we bring guests to the master. As soon as we think that, no, I'm special, I'm part of the institution here, and they're coming to visit. You're outsiders, I'm an insider. That's the beginning of the loss of our Krishna consciousness, because if we're Krishna conscious, it means we understand he's the master, I'm the servant, and he's created this beautiful temple to let others come. And my job is to help facilitate their coming back to him. That's my service. So if I forget that and I start thinking I'm special, I'm not special, they're special. But Chaitanya said we should give respect to all others. All others. So we forget that, we can too easily forget who we are, and poof, again we go back into the material world, chasing other stories. Here we have the opportunity to hear Krishna's stories, but if we're not careful, we can be chasing other stories yet again. And I think all of us have been around ISKCON long enough. We see people come, we see people go, right? Sometimes they commit some offenses, sometimes their mind just wanders and their mind wanders and they wander off. with their mind, pursuing some other story someplace. So it's a bit of our position is still precarious. It's still, Prabhupada said, spiritual life is like a razor's edge. A little attentiveness and you can be cut. So we should be very, very careful. Always remember how fortunate we are and not become proud. Pride, they say, pride is the beginning of the fall. There's so many nations and emperors and religions and communities, they become proud and then everything's lost. So let us all try very hard to not become proud, and then we can become able servants of Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, Prabhupada, to spread this movement all around the world. So there's some time for a few questions. I can stop. There's some questions or comments they would like to make. Whoever brought the warm water, thank you, can warm my hand even if I don't drink it. Very nice. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare. Thank you very much for wonderful class. I will expect what it was a wonderful presentation. Recently, I just met you in Pune, requesting you to come to KANPUR, and you blessed us by being here and gave wonderful class. Which is very wonderful, very important aspect of what you was focusing on. Identifying with the situation. There's a good opulences for the Lord, and we are meant to help Lord enjoy that opulences. And somehow the real situation sometimes comes in such a way that even by engaging in the sadhana bhakti, those feelings, vibrations comes here, identification is very strong. So we just wanted to hear some more aspect how our devotee can be very protective by practicing certain what initiatives you should take in his life to be protected from such a situation where you get proud of the situation, but it is ideal.
Thank you, Prabhu. Nice question. Well, one thing is, there's lots of answers to that. A few thoughts come to my mind is always make sure we're associated with devotees who remind us of that fact. Like we have sannyasis coming. He walks in with his danda. He's this walking symbol that don't think that's permanent. Right? He goes house to house. The sannyas goes house to house, reminds people. And also we go as brahmacharis, even Vaishnava, grahastas, we go remind people that this is a temporary place. So one thing is to always be reminding ourselves. That's very, very important. To always test ourselves. I think we have a special opportunity to test ourselves, see how do we greet visitors. If we start thinking they're trouble, these people have so much trouble, we're in trouble. If we think they're trouble, we're in trouble. And if we're remembering that whatever baggage they bring, materialistic conceptions of life, sometimes offensive attitude, that's okay because we had the same. There's a nice story with Prabhupada. Someone had written something to Prabhupada about how they were having difficulties with some other devotees. I think some leader wrote. And Prabhupada gave so many instructions, and then near the end he said, please learn to tolerate them the same way I am tolerating you. It was a very good instruction for all of us, Because sometimes we think this person's problem is so intolerable, how can I tolerate it? But whatever problem I have is a small thing. It's not so big. But Prabhupada said, no, he's tolerating us, so we should tolerate that. So I think that association with each other, reminding each other, and we can pray to Krishna, Gaurnitai, please don't let me become bewildered. One time Prabhupada was asked by some devotees when he was particularly praying very intensely in front of the deities, maybe a new Rukmini Dwarkadish in LA. And they asked Prabhupada, what are you praying for? Prabhupada said, I'm praying to never fall down. So even Prabhupada is teaching us by example and exemplifying that mood, so we should be careful of that. I had a personal experience a few years ago. I was sitting in Mayapur chanting in front of Srila Prabhupada, and as a grahasta, you have to have a few more things. I had a business for some time and like that. And I was sitting next to Prahlada Nanda Maharaj, and I leaned over. I was kind of struggling in my mind. I leaned over, I asked him, I said, Maharaj, how do you become detached? And he gave me a really nice sannyasi answer. It was a little abrupt for me as a householder, but it was very nice. I said, Maharaj, how do you become detached? He said, oh, don't worry about that. Krishna will take care of that. You know, there's that, Prabhupada describes how his father sometimes would say, and, you know, we have this, one of the images of Vishnu, right? He has his, I think, 10 hands in this story. So Prabhupada's father said, you know, with my 2 hands, God has 10. If he wants to give me, how much can I take? With his 10, I have only 2. The same way, with my 2 and his 10, if he wants to take away, how much can I keep? Like that. So to keep that vision there, and to be reminding each other, is very important. Because, you know, it's described in the Shastra, right? Even the pauper is proud of his penny. You know, Prabhupada describes this story. He one time saw a man in the Howrah train station carrying some half-burnt wood. Half-burnt, not even fresh wood, half-burnt. Prabhupada was describing how he could see this man, even he was attached. These were his only possessions, was this half-burnt wood. So whether you have a palace or a hut, you can still become attached, unnecessarily attached. So we should be attached thinking it's Krishna's place. Because there's other lectures too, Prabhupada describes, we shouldn't think, oh, this is all material, I don't care about it. You know, I wear saffron, I'm a brahmachari, or I'm a Vaishnava, I don't care about these things. No, it's Krishna's. You know, we have to take care of it very nicely. There should be no trash anywhere, everything perfectly clean, perfectly maintained. Everything should be working nicely. I was in the guest house, maybe the maintenance should look at this. The fire hose is there. As best I could tell, the water is here, the hose is here, and I tested the 2 hoses don't fit. They're about 12 inches apart. And it's not like the 2 inches with Krishna's rope with Mother Yashoda. This is not magical rope that will grow as needed. So somebody may want to take a look at that. So we should be thinking, no, this is Krishna's, I have to make sure everything is functioning very nicely for him. Not for me, but for him. For myself, maybe I'm renounced, I don't care. You know, I'm a brahmachari, sannyasi, grasta, doesn't matter. I'm renounced. No, it's Krishna's house, everything in its place. Everything pakka clean, everything nicely organized, nicely managed. And then we won't fall into illusion of thinking it's mine, because we remember it's his. Is that okay? Maharaj.
Just about facilities. So one comment, then I have one question. Prabhupada said, I have so many wonderful rooms in different parts of the world, but I don't have that, what I can say, fortune to stay there, because I have to keep on moving.
Prabhupada said that.
Yeah. So when facilities are there, we should do so much service that we don't have time to enjoy the facility. Then we'll be detached. So that is very, very important principle. Otherwise, what will happen? That we'll fight for the rooms. Which room? That happened during Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada's time. That's why you are so disturbed. There is nothing wrong to have rooms. But if you think that I am the owner of the rooms, and then the whole problem begins. So having facility is not a problem, provided it is engaged for propagation of Krishna consciousness. But if you start thinking that this is my quota and I must get it, then problem begins. So that's Prabhupada's mood also.
Very nice.
The question is, started with very bare minimum, nothing he had. And he was very happy with that. And when someone is given the responsibility, he said, you do it, then Prabhupada used to send him to other place. That's why our movement started and movement expanded. But that kind of system or culture I think in the present day of ISKCON is not there. Someone is building a temple, he stays there for life, and someone is staying, everything is for life, so people naturally become attached. So, just thinking that what Prabhupada did, as per, and he used to ask that I want to go to a place where I am needed, means I can do something. It's not that something is happening, I go there. So Prabhupada was always in the mood of expansion, and those who are successful he used to send them to other places. If that happens, that movement will grow faster, and there are so many things to do. But why that kind of thing is not looked into, just little came into my mind, because that's why we are becoming a little static, and complacency is a dangerous thing. And we think we have done so much, because when you are in an established place, you start thinking that we have done so much. There are so many people. Now we are giving the example of Delhi and other places. So, as compared to the presence of other institutions, ISKCON also, in India, the presence of ISKCON is not much. So we should not think that we are doing so much, but we are doing very insignificant. So, and that can increase if we have that kind of mood what Prabhupada had with him and also with his disciples. So if you can kindly elaborate on that, it will be nice.
I think you just elaborated nicely. That was a very nice elaboration. Yeah, it's true. It may be that we've reached a different stage of growth now. It may be that some of the systems we have need to be looked at more carefully. A lot of major companies in the world, you're in charge of a certain region and then they move you because you get a fresh perspective, you don't get comfortable like that. So, that may be something in the future, just like the GBCs now is moving towards creating these contiguous zones in different parts of the world. Once they're contiguous, there's no reason you have to stay in one place your whole life. You can then help manage a particular place and then you can move. Prabhupada definitely moved his disciples at different times according to the need. He would send them to this country, then that country, so many places. He did that often. And we know even with the institution of sannyas, Prabhupada gave some the order to take sannyas, and then he said, now give up all management, travel, and preach. Right? And again, I think it was Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he said, okay, now take sannyas, stay in one place and manage. So, you think, well, how is that sannyas? Well, sannyas means you're renounced. You do what the guru needs you to do. So the guru moves you around, you move. He tells you stay in one place, you stay in one place. But I think it's something that managers have to kind of keep an eye on. It's very easy to get kind of complacent. It's very easy to get comfortable. And when we get comfortable, we can't accomplish as much. Is that okay? Yes, we can take one more?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Maharaj and Prabhuji. It's a wonderful class. Just hearing the Maharaj, the attachment to some specific place or something. So, if you, I don't know, I should ask it or not. But if you see something is going there, that as a devotee, what one should do?
If you see something's going wrong?
Not wrong, like that attachment to the specific place and treating in other ways, other devotees like this.
Okay, I'm not sure I understood. If you go to a particular place, you see there's opportunity or you see problems? Both. Well, I mean, it depends. If there's nobody there doing any kind of preaching and you realize what a wonderful opportunity, then we can report that to the people that oversee that area. This is a good opportunity. Please send a sannyasi visiting once in a while, or send some book distributors there, or let's start a Bhakti Vriksha program in that part of the city, something like that. So we should be aware of those opportunities. If we have some capacity ourselves, we should try to fill that gap if it's within our assigned services. If we're the Bhakti Vriksha leader, we should be looking where in the city are there more opportunities and try to develop like that. If we see there's problems, similar thing, if we can easily enough fix it, we should try to do so. And if it's beyond our level of authority, then we should report it to the people who are in charge of that, so they can try to fix it. Because there's always going to be problems, there's always going to be mistakes. As soon as we think we don't have problems, we don't have mistakes, we're in really big trouble. Because then you're not looking for the mistakes. It's just like if you're gonna, like this man sweeping the temple, right? So he has to look and see, is there dust underneath that table? Is there dirt behind that table? If he doesn't look for it, he's not gonna be able to clean very well. So part of the headache of management, right? Maharaj was a manager in Mayapur for so many years. I don't know now that he's taken sannyas, if he's manifest his ability to escape that management responsibility or not. I don't know, we have to talk. But managing means you have to look to see what's wrong. You look to see what's right, what opportunities there, but also look to see what's wrong so you can fix it. There's so many stories with Srila Prabhupada about that, where Prabhupada would go and immediately point out all the things that they need to be fixed. The general mass of devotees, he was like, thank you, it's so wonderful, you're doing everything so nicely. Then when he would meet the managers, why is this problem, why is that problem, why didn't you do this? There's a nice story. One time Prabhupada went on a morning walk, as he did practically every day. Some of the Matajis, they were staying and they were cleaning his room, paka, perfect. And then Prabhupada came back to see how clean it was, but he opened one little box, took his finger and wiped inside. Who has cleaned this? Why is there dust here? Because that's, the Guru's duty and our founder Acharya to teach us how we have to do more and more and better and better. So in the similar way, managers, we have to be looking to see how devotees can do better. But balancing that with encouragement. If a manager only finds fault, then devotees become discouraged. So we have to recognize what they've done well and appreciate that, but also point out where there's opportunity to improve. Okay. Sometimes we focus a lot on finding what's wrong, but then devotees become discouraged and sometimes they go away. If that happens, that's our foolishness. So we can appreciate devotees and what they've achieved and do so in a way that inspires them to do even better. That's kind of the art of management. Right? Prabhupada said that we should give devotees ever fresh challenges. So they should celebrate the successes, but then we should give people ever fresh challenges. You know that thing, comfort zone, stretch zone, panic zone, right? We shouldn't live in the comfort zone. That means you're just asleep. It's kind of like tamagun. But also, if we live too much in the panic zone, that's like the mode of passion. It's too stressful. And after some time, we just be too much stress on our mind and our bodies, and we lose our Krishna consciousness. So we should be in the stretch zone. It's a little difficult. There always has to be growth. We're learning to grow, but not to the point it's causing us distress. Okay? Comfort zone, stretch zone, panic zone. We want to be in the stretch zone. Okay? Okay? Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.